Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth and final day of Creators Loft. Today's session is called The Future is Freelance, How to Make Your Side Hustle Work for You. We're going to be talking all about taking a chance on yourself, whether that means going freelance, starting your own business, or just making a major career switch. My name is Avery, and I graduated college last year. I was a part of College Fashionista all throughout my years in college, and it helped me get to where I am today. I started working full-time last year and then decided that it wasn't for me and took a chance on myself and started doing marketing as a freelancer. So what I do is affiliate marketing and then also influencer marketing and content creation. So myself and the amazing panelists I'm joined with will let you all in on our best tips and the real truth behind what it is to be a freelancer. So you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone.
I'll go
I'm
first.
Anna.
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
founder.
Go ahead.
It must be some kind of logo. I'm sorry. My name is
My
Anna,
bad.
and I'm the founder of Sword, which is an online retailer for sustainable luxury fashion beauty products. Like Avery, I graduated college last year, and I had a full-time job in tech, but I soon realized that that wasn't my passion, and that's why I decided to start my business.
Okay, I'll go now, Olivia. For real. Thanks. I'm Olivia. I'm a freelance writer. I, too, was part of College Fashionista all through my college years. I went to the University of Florida and graduated in 2015, so kind of a long time ago now. After I graduated, I was a fashion beauty editor at bustle.com for 4 years before going freelance to do what I do now. And yeah, that's a little about me.
And hi, everyone. I'm Mandy. I am the owner and creative director of Helen the Brand, where I curate and process and sell vintage and sustainable style for you in your home. Previously, I worked for Rag & Bone, Free People, and Gypsy Warrior, which is a very small company. Got me where I am now. So really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to talk with everyone today, and I love how we all have this thing in common of being freelancers, but we all have such different backgrounds and different paths of where we're going and where we are now. So let's get started. So Anna, you can go ahead and kick this off, but what type of career did you imagine you'd have when you were in college, and then how did that differ from where you are now?
So I majored in econ and math when I was at USC, and I really thought I would go into a finance or a tech kind of field, which I did right after graduating. But because my passions were really in fashion and because of the pandemic, I was very tuned into sustainability. I took a sharp right turn and landed up starting my own business. Very different from what I had originally imagined, and the work is also completely different from what I was, kind of trained to do with my education, but it's been working out pretty well.
That's awesome.
I guess I'll go next. Sorry. Sorry, are we just going in order or?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool. Sorry to mess up that, guys. The lag is really messing with me clearly. For me, I was a journalism major, so I guess more of a traditional background. But I was kind of like conditioned to think that I wasn't going to get a job because that was just how journalism was back then. You were just like, oh, you'll probably just spend a year and a half applying to jobs. But I got really lucky and landed like what I would consider my dream job, being a fashion beauty editor at a website. But interestingly, I've found that freelance is like such a better fit than something that was like quote unquote my dream job. So that was an interesting trajectory for me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always hoped and had faith I would end up doing something that I loved, which was in the creative field. And I made that happen for myself. So I think anything really is possible.
Yeah, and Olivia, going off of what you said, I feel like I also had my dream job right out of college. But what I do now is definitely a lot more aligned with what I thought I would do. And I think that's the best thing about freelance is that you can find out so many different unique jobs that are out there. Like I've been able to try out so many different things. So let's move on to the next question, and that's what practical steps would you advise someone who wants to take a chance on going freelance or take their side hustle full time or start a business from scratch?
So in terms of the starting a business from scratch side, because I think that's what I can speak to best, I would say what's most important really is to have some sort of financial and emotional stability. I think starting a business can be very stressful, so it's good to be surrounded by people who can, support you when you are at your lowest or when things get really tough. Also, I think definitely having some amount of money that you can fall back on, whether that's through your savings or even just moving back in with your parents. I think that's so important just because you do put a lot of your savings and your own money into the business to help it take off. So I think that those are the two most important things.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on that, just sorry, Olivia, we're going out of order now, but I feel like one of the main things that I had written down for this question was to not be afraid of having a side job or that same kind of stability. And there's a lot of misconception when you start a business and you leave a full-time job that that's all you're going to do. Having a plan is important, but also not being afraid to divert from that plan or get discouraged if that's not exactly the way things work out for you is really important. The hardest part is getting started, and as long as you have the, I guess, drive to do that, you're already halfway there. And from that point, don't be afraid to have a part-time job. There's no shame in learning as you grow your own business as well. And that's another stable on the side to help you financially and just with knowledge to grow your own business.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with all of that. I think having a plan is key, but also kind of like you said, being a little bit flexible when things aren't perfect or don't go exactly according to plan. For me, I spent like a year in my full-time job kind of planning to go freelance. And something that was super helpful was like really visualizing like what my career would look like if it wasn't in this like neat little box that I had since I graduated college. So something I did was I actually wrote like a new like bio for myself. Like Olivia Mentor is a freelance writer who lives in Philadelphia with her husband and dog and also does XYZ on the side. And that really helped me have like a clear idea, like, okay, this is something that would actually be possible. And here's how I would, describe it to people. So I always kept that in the back of my mind, like throughout planning to go freelance. And it really helped me push forward.
I love that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I got this book, I can't remember the name of it, but you basically fill out the prompts and you can manifest something that you want. And during my time at my full-time job, I would write down what I wanted to do, the title I wanted, and like the steps that I need to take to get there. And I feel like that helped me a lot. Okay, so next question is, how did you figure out how to monetize your business / your freelance work?
In terms of monetizing the business, I think one thing that helped us a lot was experimentation. One thing I learned very quickly when we launched our business is that people are not just waiting to hand you money. You really have to go out there, reach the right people, tell them the value of your business. And it takes a lot to, have someone know about who you are and then have them consider you as a business that they want to support and purchase from, and then finally become a customer and a loyal customer at that. So for us, experimenting with many different options from influencers to running ads to even in-person activations was really what helped us in terms of making sales and monetizing. And even now, we're still constantly iterating, but it does take a lot of time and persistence. So never be afraid to experiment, because if something's not working, you have to really quickly pivot. Otherwise things are just going to continue to not work. So that's how we learn to monetize best.
Yeah, I don't know. I can go next. I'm speaking from a little bit of a different business than Anna is with Forward. My business is in unique pieces. So vintage and sustainable items are not as easy to, I guess, promote in the same way. So for me, social media obviously has been the ultimate tool for growth in marketing and monetizing. But my tip would be to get comfortable with the shameless self-promotion aspect of running your own business. Definitely getting yourself out there in front of clients and customers now that we're back in that groove. Somewhat post-COVID, it's really, you have to get comfortable talking about what you do and finding creative ways to get your contacts to people. For me especially, vintage selling is hard because the product sometimes needs to be touched and felt, and so in-person experiences with the brand are important. But yeah, like I found a way to give out my business cards in a sustainable way with seed paper. So there are options like QR codes and things like that nowadays too. And just word of mouth is a big thing personally for small business and cultivating, I think, a very authentic following for what you're doing.
Yeah, going off of that bit about being comfortable with self-promotion, which I feel like can be really awkward for some people at first. It's definitely a big part of any freelance work, including like what I do, freelance writing and content creation, which is freelance also. I think that something that's really helped me is to really, really push myself to always ask for more money. Like no matter what scenario, I feel like women especially to not want to talk about money or feel uncomfortable about it. But, in business, I think it's really key to always be like, okay, like I'm going to ask for $100 or 200 or 1,000 more than I think. And odds are you'll land a little bit higher than you would have otherwise. And also I think it's really helpful to get comfortable talking about money and rates with other people in the industry. Obviously, it varies from like field to field, but that has been super helpful for me in both like the content creation and freelance writing space.
Yeah, same with me. With determining like my freelance rates, I kind of had no idea where to start out. So just talking to people in the field, not being afraid to reach out to someone, on LinkedIn or anything, just to see what they charge for their services. Because starting out doing influencer marketing, I was like, how do I even know what to charge hourly for this? So yeah, just don't be afraid to reach out to people and make it a conversation about, how you can monetize. So the next question is, how did going freelance or taking a chance on yourself affect your work-life balance?
I think it's given me a lot more flexibility in terms of, setting my own hours, but at the same time, I'm quite a perfectionist with my business, so I rarely take advantage of the flexibility I'm given. So I end up just working really long hours rather than, thinking to myself, okay, let me take a break in the middle of the day, or let me, give myself a hard stop at maybe 6 p.m. I think for me, at least at the beginning, I think of it as, I'm putting in this investment of all my time and my effort, and I'm working these really long hours so that, in a couple of years down the line, when the business has really succeeded, I can scale back a little bit and give myself more flexibility with my hours and confine myself or commit myself to not working more than maybe 8 to 10 hours a day.
I can go next. Yeah, so I felt like what I thought about this question, I was like, it would be cruel not to be honest. Most of the time when you are investing in a business for yourself, a work-life balance is different than what you expect. And of course, you make time for special occasions, for weekends, maybe away. But when you love something and are honest at it best, you're a perfectionist about what you do as you own it. You'll find yourself thinking about work most of the time, even when you try to turn off. So there's always that. And I think that's part of it, but it's never ending hard work and it becomes the best part of your life if it's something that you really believe in. So it's like, it's hard because your life and your work do blend. But I think for the best, and being your own boss will test you in ways that you never thought it would, but you will feel very empowered at the same time. And I feel that successful, empowered feeling of putting in the work, it brings other positive things into your life. And for me, I know it definitely has. So there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I also think for me, because I went from being like in a traditional 9 to 5 to doing like a lot of different projects all the time, it really changed like how I realized how much like worth of myself I put in like just my job title. And when I took that away, I was like, oh, I can actually focus a lot more on the actual projects I'm taking. I can say yes or no to projects. I can really think about like the quality of the work rather than like, okay, I have to sit in front of this computer for 8 hours today. Like, how am I gonna, fill that time? Like, it's a lot more project based. I feel more motivated. I am okay with like shutting things off because I'm my own boss. I feel like instead of constantly holding myself to someone else's standard, I've gotten more comfortable at knowing what I'm okay with and what I'm not in terms of how much I'm working and how much I'm taking off, which has been really valuable to me.
Yeah, how do you deal with, I guess, saying no to things? Because I feel like as a freelancer, you're always presented with opportunities, and I know it's hard for me to say no personally. So I just wanted to know, Olivia, how you deal with that.
I say yes to everything. No, I'm just kidding. I think that for me, it's taken a lot of time to say no to things, but I also always try to remind myself like to just go by my gut reaction. Like I try to think about when I hear an opportunity, like, okay, this is making me anxious. There's probably a reason for that, and to kind of explore that. And ultimately, like, I've been freelancing long enough to really believe that, like, okay, if I don't have the same client this month that I have next month, there's going to be another one. Not to say that you shouldn't like try to keep all the clients you can, but it's made me feel much less like sensitive about certain things, like getting every job and doing everything all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get to our last question, I just wanted to let everyone in the audience know that if you want to ask any questions, you can drop them in the chat and we'll get to those at the end. So next question is from our community, and it's, I'm a junior and slash senior in college and realizing that my major isn't exactly what I want to do, but it's too late to change now. What should I do to pursue my passion if it's not what I studied?
So I think I have a decent answer to this because I was in a very similar boat towards the end of college. I really wanted to go and study more about sustainability and environmental science, but I was pretty much done with my major. I had literally like 3 classes left. It was my last semester, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to fit in any classes that I wanted that pertain to sustainability. So instead, what I ended up doing was I just took a 2-credit course because I had 2 credits left. And it was just about sustainability science in the city. And it really helped me, further solidify the fact that I was interested in the subject matter and that I wanted to pursue it even further. And along with that, I think even for people who don't have, credits left over and maybe their class load is really full, I recommend edX. It's edx.com. They have a bunch of classes from pretty much like every school, like Harvard, MIT, etc. And they cover so many topics ranging from like fashion, sales, marketing, all the way to programming. So that's really what I recommend if you want to go out and, do some additional learning and, pursue your passions.
I would say it's tough. It's never too late to pursue what you want to do. I similarly wasn't sure when I was in college what I really wanted to do, and had transferred schools and ended up in an art major. So I went to school and got a degree in painting, and that wasn't exactly a straight line to a business, marketing, or fashion degree. But I think what I was able to do was really take my experiences outside of the classroom and develop the skills and kind of cultivate the knowledge that I wanted from those experiences. And I've pretty much everything I know and use to run my business today has been learned through experiences outside of school. So my brand became a melting pot of all of my personal experiences, interests, and skills. And that's how I kind of run my business even now, to stay authentic to what I've created, because I think that is your superpower. No matter what degree you get from school or what jobs are on your resume, you have a unique point of view and a unique experience from the path that you've been on. I've had plenty of jobs that have nothing to do with what I do now, and I've been able to kind of cherry pick different things from those jobs that help inform what I do now. So every experience is worth it, and seeing that in hindsight definitely helps. But I know when you're in it, it feels a bit panicky and a bit like, oh no, I've spent all this time and money on something that maybe is not my real passion. But I think getting through that and just taking those bits and pieces from everything that you learn, you can put together the best, recipe basically for your own success. So that would be my advice.
I would also say that sometimes I get questions from people who are interested in freelance writing about like, oh, but I don't have like a journalism or writing degree, and I didn't study that in college, and is the editor who I'm pitching this story to going to know? And the answer is like 99.99% of the time, they have no idea where you went to college. As an editor who fielded pitches, like no one really cares about your major. They care if you can write and if you have a perspective. And in that same vein, like if you're in college right now, which I'm assuming most people watching are, and you are interested in pitching stories to outlets, I think a lot of college students assume that like the editor will know that you're in college, you haven't graduated. But honestly, like most editors wouldn't know that. They'd probably just, care about the quality of your idea and your writing. And neither of those really require a degree to get it perfectly right, especially if your idea is super unique and great.
Okay, well, that's all for our questions. So I'm going to open it up to the questions that everyone dropped in the chat. So the first one is, do any of you have people you pitch your ideas to before launching your business? I always wanted to go to my friends when I have new ideas, but I've heard mentors are incredibly helpful in this space.
Yes, I did pitch my business to a couple of people before I started it. The first, he was a marketing professor of mine in college, and he runs an influencer marketing agency. And so he knew, a lot about marketing in the space. And so when I pitched him my idea, he gave me a lot of feedback about how, we should change up our framework, try and be as trustworthy as possible. And he gave us a lot of ideas for our launch. I also pitched it to just a couple of the parents of friends I had who had started small businesses of their own, because I thought they would be able to give me a lot of advice on what it meant to start a business from scratch and run it and grow it. So it's definitely very helpful to have mentors. If you don't directly know anyone, I highly recommend cold emailing. I've done it. I've emailed people who are in the fashion industry, who've worked at, like Net-a-Porter, who have worked, in the Bain luxury consulting division. And I've just asked them for just 15 minutes of their time to talk to them about my idea and ask them a little bit more about the industry. And they were immensely helpful. So don't ever be afraid to just reach out, because I feel like a lot of people are more than happy to, mentor and help out where they can.
Yeah, personally, I don't have that many professional mentors that I've spoken to. Like I was saying, my business is a little bit different, where I'm really able to create what I want to with my own goals in mind. But I definitely have learned so much from previous employers, places I've worked. I have friends from the industry who I've worked with, who I reach out to still, and are great resources just even to bounce ideas off of. So yeah, I think it's definitely important to have people to call on, but sometimes those people are your family or your friends or a significant other. So I think as long as you feel supported and you have a sounding wall to bounce things off of, personally, I have to kind of work things out loud. So it's always helpful to have those people like-minded in the industry, and also from an outside perspective, because sometimes we can live in a vacuum as well, and we ask people that we know have the same ideas as us, but it's always good to reach outside of that to get a different perspective too.
Yeah, totally. So the next one is going to be for Olivia, and it's, are there any websites you recommend to get started as a freelance writer? I'm a freelance writer for Text Broker now, but it would be cool to have more options.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people use Fiverr to find freelance writing jobs, and I know people who have had success with that. I personally never really put much effort into Fiverr, but great resources for me have been Twitter. If you search hashtag call for pitches, you're going to find editors searching for specific stories, which is honestly sometimes easier to come up with ideas if you know like a very specific package of stories they're trying to create, rather than like you just coming up with like an idea out of 100 billion ideas in your head. So hashtag call for pitches on Twitter, and they'll usually have their emails and instructions for how to pitch them. And then also there are a lot of freelance writing groups on Facebook where editors will go in and say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of idea for this magazine or website or whatever. Please send me pitches. And I found a lot of leads both of those ways.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the next one is, if you could do it all over again after graduation, for the ones of you who went into a full-time job afterward, would you start your freelance career or work that job again? I can go ahead and answer this. So I feel like I would have just started my career and not gone straight into freelance. I feel like having a full-time job taught me a lot, not only about what I'm doing now, but it taught me all about a new industry. I worked in affiliate, which is kind of related to influencer marketing in a way. So it definitely prepared me for what I'm doing now. And I feel like to know that you don't want to do a 9-to-5, you need to do it to realize. So that's kind of what I felt like I had to do. So I would definitely go back and do exactly what I did.
Yeah, I kind of feel similarly. I think that I could have gone freelance right after college, but it would have been really really difficult. Having that experience definitely gave me a head start. But what I will say is that I do really wish I would have started freelancing while I was in college. I think that I thought that I couldn't email editors or I couldn't pitch ideas because I was too young, or they wouldn't take me seriously, or they would think that I was silly or something. But if I had, just had 1 to 2 like bylines a year throughout college, like that makes a massive difference if you're ever thinking about doing a full-time freelance career. And like I said, no editor is going to know that you're 19 years old in college. Like if they like your idea, they like your idea and they'll pay you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay, so the last question that we got is, what is the most surprising thing you've come across in starting your business?
Okay. I was trying to think of something that was very surprising. I think the most surprising thing for us was really just, we were building out like our full sustainability framework in our questionnaire. So when we vet brands, we vet them across 9 criteria, and we ask them like 115 questions that span those 9 criteria. And I think the most surprising thing that we came across when reaching out to these brands was how willing they were to fill out this questionnaire, how willing they were to provide us with proof, and how committed they were to sustainability. I think that was, I think there was this fear among a lot of people who I worked with when starting the business that brands would not be super forthcoming and that they would think it was a waste of time. But I think that kind of just helped me realize that, brands, individuals, whoever are willing to do more than you think they are. And that's helped, even with things like not related to sustainability in our business, when we're reaching out to people, we've realized that they are willing to help us out with more than we might have originally asked for. So that was something very surprising in the business. And I think that might also be it may be specific to fashion, because I know in other industries, people have had a lot less time for us and a lot less, and we're a lot less willing to give. But I think that's a great thing about fashion, that people really do want to help you out.
I guess I can go next.
Any other comments?
The most surprising thing for me, has been how much having like a strong personal brand on social, or something that I'm thoughtful about, has helped me in freelance writing. And I think I underestimated how much it helps if people associate you with freelance writing, because an editor might follow me on Instagram and then think, oh, like maybe Olivia would be good for this story. Whereas if I didn't have that social presence, or I wasn't really thoughtful about sort of integrating the two, like social and freelance writing worlds, that might not happen. Of course, like lines kind of blur with like personal and work, which can make it confusing, but that's been really surprising for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can just finish out. Piggybacking off of what Olivia said, like, I guess for me, the most surprising thing would be that I am so much of my brand, which has been pointed out to me from really other people before I realized it. So that was something that I'm really like now latching onto, but was a little bit, it was interesting to learn, I guess. And it just, I think, goes to show that if you really do believe in what you're doing and are staying true to yourself, that will show through. So that was a really, really nice thing to learn.
Yeah, agree with all of that. We have one last question, and it's, how do you keep yourself motivated, and what are you looking forward to with your business right now?
I guess that I keep myself motivated by really just continuing to stay inspired for buying, for kind of creating different capsules of vintage. Vintages and sustainable style has become so much more popular in the last couple years, which is wonderful. But it's nice to make sure that I'm keeping things new and fresh and without being too trendy, making sure that things are relevant. And for the most part, I'm looking forward to just going into this year or the next year and the holiday season and seeing more success as I continue to grow. I think part of setting certain like small expectations for yourself is that you can kind of see how far you've come from where you thought you would be in the beginning. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just expanding and learning more about all of my customers and what they love about my business.
I definitely have to agree with Mandy on the sustainability front. I think, over the past few years, there's been a real uptick in demand for sustainably and ethically produced clothing. And one thing that really motivates me is that I know that there are a lot of people out there who want to purchase from brands that they can trust. And, they just need to be reached, and we just have to find a way to reach them. So that's really what keeps me going, knowing that we can make a positive impact on the planet by purchasing more responsibly and really trying to get more people on board with this idea. In terms of what I'm looking forward to most, we have a pop-up that's launching in San Francisco on November 5th. So I'm really looking forward to seeing people IRL and, telling them more about my business and helping them shop more responsibly.
Yay.
For me, I guess it's kind of, I don't know. I think the best thing about being freelance and kind of doing multiple things with content creation and writing and all of that is that it's always something new. It's always changing. It never gets boring. And I always know that like next month is going to look a little bit different and it keeps things fresh. And I never feel that unmotivated. But something that also I think is something that I'm looking forward to and keeps me motivated is the fact that like each year of freelancing, I have a little more flexibility to say no to things and then to say yes to other things, whether they be like passion projects or, just things I've always wanted to do, like fiction writing or, really being more creative. And I think that's like ultimately the biggest gift of freelancing is that you have that flexibility to really like prioritize the things that make you happy.
Great. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. It's been so fun talking with you all, and I hope everyone enjoyed. You'll also get a special discount code at torridstore.com, so check out the link in the chat for that, as well as the Zoom link for the next session, which will be with Rare Beauty, and it'll be Katie Welsh. She's a CMO, and she'll be teaching everyone about networking and building relationships. So the link should be again in the chat, and I've had so much fun talking with you all, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, Avery.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.